you're a doctor, but you're also a soldier. So walk us through how does your day look like?
2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. You're constantly on call when you're away like that. To become a major at 30 is quite abnormal, and it's purely because of...
So was there a point in time where you felt scared or unsafe or emotionally overwhelmed, and you regretted the decision that why I joined the army?
I don't, honestly, I think...
But do you think we have done enough as a British society to honor the Indian soldier who laid down their life during World War I and World War II?
I think we could do more, 100%. So it's 3.8 million across First and Second World War. But that's not including the people that died in the famine. And not many people know that. And even people of Indian heritage don't know that as well.
What would you like to say to some 18, 19-year-old confused about their career, afraid to take a risk? Would you recommend them joining army? And what are the reasons they should join army?
What I would say to that is...
What happens when you trade the NHS clinic with a battlefield-like situation in Kenya, the Falklands, and Cyprus? And how balancing two identities, British, Indian, doctor, army, daughter of Africa and granddaughter of India, how does this dual identity define your purpose of life? Today we have a special guest with us, Dr. Hina. She is a doctor and a British Army professional. She is an ENT specialist. So we are going far beyond just about medicine, about her identity, the British Army duties, the diaspora role, and much more. And the most important question which youngsters are struggling to answer: what does it really take to build a career with purpose? Stay till then. Thank you, Hina, for joining us. How are you today?
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning. That was a really nice introduction. And I'm excited for today.
All right. So this is your first podcast, I assume.
Yeah, it's my first podcast.
Don't worry. You'll be fine. So tell me, Hina, how does the army treat an Indian woman? As I understand, army is male dominated.
Yes.
So how do you feel, what was your experience so far being an Indian, being a woman in British Army?
So I've had multiple experiences, some extremely good, most of them extremely good, and a few negative ones. But overall, I would say the Indian part doesn't really come into it anymore. It's all based on your merit. If you're good at what you do, if I'm a good doctor, if I care about my patients, if I'm competent in what I'm saying, then it doesn't really matter. Everything else fades into the background in terms of your own background, your ethnicity, your color, your race. There's been a few times where I think naturally women are slightly softly spoken. We're a bit more caring and just softer. We don't need to be right at the forefront and very loud and dominating.
But you guys are strong inside, aren't you? Women are more stronger, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think just naturally we don't kind of fit that, the alpha dominating kind of stereotype. And I've been in situations where there's been 4 men, we're all equally qualified. And my voice was just drowned out, but that's fine. I just sat back, waited, and made sure everything that I said was of like paramount importance. And then everyone took me seriously. And by the end of 8 months of working there, it was an extremely good working team, and I could count on my colleagues, and everyone, got on really extremely well. So it's all about your merit rather than anything else.
So
and that's
culture, your identity has nothing to do when for example, you're from a ethnic minority.
Yeah.
So was there any racism, or was there any special preference, or you're treated equally like any other soldier?
So I'm treated equally. There has been very small random instances where there have been, I've come across racist instances. But one thing I want to mention about that is that the army take it extremely seriously now. So I think 10 years ago, I think the narrative would be completely different.
Right.
But what my experience was that someone said something to me that was wrong. It was witnessed in front of about 6 different people,
Right.
and it was reported in the correct way. So I said that it was wrong for someone to say that, to highlight something racist, and it was dealt with extremely well. At this point, I was thinking about army as a career, or going into just purely NHS work, and it was a really good, interesting kind of like point in my life where things were going to go one way or the other. So I was very happy with the way that it was taken. It's very serious. So
great.
Yeah, it was really good. And I think that there's so many opportunities, and people celebrate your culture now. So if you go onto any military base, usually there's a place of worship for Hindus, especially through the Gurkhas.
Right.
And there's temples there. There's a church sometimes. It really depends on your faith, and everything is celebrated now. And I think that's the bit that people don't really understand or know. So yeah, and then there's a whole Defense Hindu network now, and Defense Sikh network. Exactly. So those things, people, even serving people, don't know about them. So those things really make you feel like you do belong, and you've got so much to kind of give to the army, and they will celebrate you equally as well.
That's good to know. So I mean, if there's any grievances, they're addressed well by the
absolutely.
That's
definitely
amazing. So Hina, for our viewers, can you tell us a day in army? How does it look like for you when you're working in the front? So how does you're a doctor, but you're also a soldier. So walk us through how does your day look like?
So a day is it can be very different. So it depends on where I'm working. So in Cyprus, when I was working in a military. So it's a military center so it's a GP practice, basically, medical center, sorry. What happens is you wake up early, 6 a.m., you get your phys done. So, you work out. And then you go to the morning meeting at 8 a.m. And then all of the night staff hand over to you, and they say about what the most kind of important things overnight happened.
So briefing.
A brief.
Right.
And then after that, there's a lot of people that come in, and it's called a sit parade. So you've got your things that happen the day before that could wait till 8 a.m., like, swollen knees or, severe blisters or something like that don't need to go to hospital, but we need to attend to them. So all of those happen in the morning. And then anything that comes in on the day is your responsibility. So anything. So severe mental health problems, someone that needs to go to surgery, so abdominal pain. So that's normally, if you're the duty doctor, that's what you deal with. And then sometimes you'll have some clinics as well in between, or meetings. So it's very similar in some ways to the NHS. But then if you're out on the ground, that's completely different. So when I was in Kenya, we had our own sick parade. We woke up and similar timings, 6 a.m. Woke up with the first light, and then 8 a.m. we got people to come to the RAP, which is the Regimental Aid Post, so our mini hospital, and then we would try to just see people as they came in, and then you just be very reactive. But then overnight, if your battalion and if the unit you're looking after are doing a lot of physical activity, then you have to be ready to be like on the ground, ready to, be there for your soldiers. So get a BFA, so an ambulance out to exactly where the problem is going to be, or the kind of any injuries that happen, so that you're ready to take them to the hospital. So it is very different. And as a result, we've got some things at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you're constantly on call when you're away like that. So that can be quite exhausting. Really, really challenging. But you have an incredible team. So that's the saving grace of it all.
So I think army is all about teamwork, isn't it?
Incredible teamwork. Yeah, I think it's some of the best teams that I've ever worked in. Oh, definitely in the military. Absolutely.
So tell me, the first week or the first month when you were away from home,
Yeah.
how does it feel? You're quite young, away
Yeah.
from your family. So how does what was the feeling when you were away, and if something has gone wrong, so how did you handle those situations? Tell us more about it.
So you mentioned that I'm quite young. So to become a major at 30 is quite abnormal, and it's purely because of the just the rank structure and the way that doctors are like gain rank at certain times. So I already had some imposter syndrome already. So that's how that links in.
Right.
So when I went to Cyprus and I was away from home, I did have this kind of fear that I wasn't good enough. But just doing the job over and over again really helped that. And then when I did have something that came in, when no one else was around, firstly, it's really good because you know your exit points. You know the fact that there's a hospital down the road, there's half an hour, or there's there's one that's, an hour down the road. You know where your ambulances are at all times. You've got all of your reach back kind of information points as well. So you've got the SMO, so the senior medical officer there, if they really need to be talked to, or if you need any advice from back in the UK. So you've got lots of avenues. It's just about knowing where they are and how to use them. So I had a patient that was really unwell, and he was a prison officer, and it was interesting, and it's a very Cyprusism, where if you're there and you've got the jurisdiction of one area versus another area, and it just depends on which police have picked him up. Yeah, it was very interesting, and I learned so much. But there's also no medical textbook on that, so you just learn as you go, and just believe that you've got the tenacity and the knowledge to come overcome these things.
So you're a British.
Yes.
You're of Indian origin.
Yeah.
Born in East Africa, as I said in. So you're born in here, or you're?
No, I was born here. My parents were born in East Africa. Yes. Yeah.
So you have all these three amalgamation of identity. So when there is a pressure situation, which identity comes up?
That's an interesting question. Yeah. I think my family have instilled into me a lot of cultural beliefs and meditation values and things from the Bhagavad Gita. So I would say Hinduism kind of takes over in those moments.
Yeah.
Like my dad constantly, as we were growing up, said that everything's a test. Everything is put in front of you as a test. We do talk about things about duty as well.
Yes.
So in the Bhagavad Gita,
dharma and karma,
exactly.
Yeah.
And at the point of the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna and Krishna are talking about his duty and what he needs to do and how to overcome his fears, his anxieties and things like that, that always comes into the things that I do, and like when I'm scared of something. So I think overall it would definitely be that side of me that in the face of adversity. So in order to get courage, that's when I turn to that, and meditating and bringing my thoughts, like bringing clarity to my thoughts. That also links in with like the Indian values as well. Yeah, but overall, like I've been, I was born here, I was brought up in a British school, British university. So that's given me a massive understanding and an amazing education. And I really love this country because of what it's given to my family and myself as well.
So you mentioned imposter syndrome, you mentioned Bhagavad Gita. So do you know the Arjuna syndrome? I'm not good enough. I cannot win the battle. So do you ever face such situation? And do you have someone like Krishna to guide you? Have you got any mentors or somebody? For example, even I face in my life Arjuna syndrome when I'm not sure if I'm good enough, if I can win this, and then you need someone who can know you can do it. So have you got someone in your life?
I have. So my dad's one of 7, my mum's one of 5. Like I have so many cousins. So my dad is like, I would say my mentor and like my someone that I confide in all the time. I've got lots of cousins that have been through similar things. My older sister is a GP as well, so whenever I'm concerned about something, I will just pick up the phone to her and just say, what would you do in this situation? And
they're always there to guide you, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and my mum's slightly softer, so I wouldn't go to I go to her for love.
Right.
I go to my dad for advice, and I'm like, I know that between the two. But yeah, anyone in my family, like they're always ready to, and I've got a great support structure, and I think that's really important as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I assume that nobody else in your family is in army, yeah?
No one else is in the army, and that was a very interesting
So how did you
conversation.
break the barrier? Because you had a very safe GP job, I assume,
yeah.
So you took up a hard challenge to join soldier. Was there something inside you? What made you take up this challenge? Yeah?
The honest answer is that I fell into it. And so I was
it
living...
Mr. Chauhan?
He didn't recruit me, but Mr. C is very good at recruiting.
Yeah, he is amazing. Yeah.
So when I was at university, I was in a house with my friend, and we'd already done the bursary kind of system and applied to the army whilst we were living together. And it was a house full of 5 other people, and I noticed that he was extremely happy but really tired every weekend whenever he was doing things with the military. I was so curious that I went along to some of the events with him that civilians were allowed to go to. And I absolutely loved the people that were there. They were so fun, always just wanting to do the best in life, but also very hardworking. And they had like this switch between having the most fun they could and doing the most they could academically as well. So you've got like really intelligent people. And I've still got lots of friends from the OTC, which is the Officer Training Corps at Exeter Uni. So it was from there I started to go to things purely because of my friend. And even he said, "Oh, I think you would enjoy this. You're quite outdoorsy." I continued going on to that. When I told my parents, it was a very interesting conversation. So my dad is like, I'm not sure about this. Like, let me do some research. Let's just kind of look into it. My mum was straight away like, "Oh, I don't know, Hina. Why don't you just stick to medicine?" And then my grandma said, the first thing she said was, "I don't want you to die." So that was my bar. But time went by, and they could see like how happy I was, and also just how interesting it was, like the stories I came back with, the different exciting stories that I had, or the different available kind of things to do with the military. Is just like far beyond anything that I would have dreamed of if I hadn't have had it. I think it's given me a lot of skills, and I think my personality has changed dramatically since joining. So
now you're promoted to major. Are they now proud of you, and now they understand your work better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ironically, my mum, she's funny because she's the one that has had the issue with it. And she's also the one, when she introduces me, she's like, "This is Hina, she's a GP, she's also a major in the army." I'm like, "Mum, you can't have it both ways."
So was there a point in time where you felt scared or unsafe or emotionally overwhelmed, and you regretted the decision that why I have joined the army? Was there any point in your...
I think you get that with a lot of different career choices. And I think in the NHS as a GP, I think I get those feelings a lot more in the NHS than if I'm in the military being a GP in the army. So yes, I do. And I think it would be naive to say I wouldn't get those kind of feelings. But the other side of it is like there's a lot of highs as well, loads of highs with the military. Really interesting people. Every day is just so much fun. Soldiers are really fun to deal with. And then you've got these really, academically thriving people as well. And the GPs around me were like very hardworking. So it's just always a great team to be working in. And it's been on multiple fronts. It's not just one place where I've had a really good team. It's in Cyprus, in the Falklands, in Kenya. in India recently when we went away.
Right.
Had a really interesting, fun team to be around, and I think it's just that compulsion, that personality trait that does attract the military, and then automatically you'll get on with all these other people from different walks of life. So no, I think so. To answer the question, occasionally yes, but no more than
few days
that I would, in the NHS.
Right, great. So you've been posted to so many places: Kenya, Falkland, and Cyprus.
Yes.
So how does each of these cultures show pain, fear, and trust? So what have you learned about treating people of different cultures? Is there some learning you learned from all of these postings?
Yeah. So the thing about working in all of those places, I'm still a GP for British soldiers.
Right.
So that's one thing that is, I think people do get a little bit confused about it. So with with Cyprus, that was my first one. And I was quite surprised that when patients go to the local hospital, there is quite a paternalistic viewpoint of patients and of their medicine. So when we would send patients to their hospital, it would be quite tricky for them, because we now in Western medicine, it's very autonomous. People make their own decisions. It's an agreement between two, like doctor and patient.
Right.
In Cyprus, it's not quite the same there. So that was just
makes the call, yeah.
Yes,
Right.
and so culturally that was a bit different, and we have to kind of coach people. Well, not coach, I guess, advise people that this is what's going to happen, and when they come back, just talk through things if they don't know what's happened. So that was quite interesting, and I think like that relates to. I don't think they, dwell on pain in that society as well. In Kenya. So again, I was with British people the whole time I was there, but the Kenyan people, like it's very obvious that they're very happy people. They're very happy-go-lucky. Really, I've had patients before where they don't really believe in depression. They don't feel like. I remember one patient saying to me that she's African and it's embarrassing that she feels so low in her mood.
It's an embarrassing situation if you're feeling low, is it?
well, that's what she thought, and it was a cultural thing, and I thought that was really interesting. So that Kenyan kind of, belief in happiness, and I think that Nakuru is a word that they use quite a lot. So that was really interesting to see. But again, I don't have hands-on experience in Kenya, and then the Falklands and India. They're slightly different. I think India is interesting because they have Ayurveda medicine, which is more like we would call it, like more herbal medicine in the UK. But it was very interesting when I went there recently. So their pay structure is actually really similar between Ayurveda medicine and being a medical doctor, and also the time spent actually becoming a doctor in both things is similar as well. So they take this herbal medicine. I'm trying not to use that term, but to anyone that doesn't understand Ayurveda, that's kind of what we would kind of compare it to. We wouldn't say that they were equal in this country, but so that was interesting. I think the only thing I would say is that I do believe it has a place, but I don't think it fully can, change or swap out a lot of modern medicine that we have in terms of, proper medications that have been researched. That's the only thing.
So you said you recently visited India. Was it the first time you've been to India, or you've been there before?
No, I've been there multiple times in the past. So I would say about 7 or 8 times now.
Right.
This is the first time I've been to Punjab, though, and the first time I've been to the Golden Temple. It was absolutely beautiful.
So what was something which surprised you in your last trip about India, or is there anything, any details of India, any smell or any taste which stays with you when you come back from India? Is there something special about?
I would say karai paneer. That's something that keeps me warm at night. No, I am joking, but The reason why I went to India this last trip,
Right.
it was a military event where it was an engagement event. So for 2 weeks, or just less than 2 weeks, it was going to Delhi, around Punjab, and to Udaipur.
Right. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. All of those places. And we went to something called the Military Literature Festival. So
Okay.
part of it was to celebrate our culture and understand what Indians in the past have done for the British Empire, and especially when they were volunteering to be in the military. And part of it was retention and understanding our roots. So our retention, so the 12 people that were on the trip.
Right.
And to kind of disseminate the kind of ideas and understandings and the history that we found, that we learned about. So the Battle of Sarigari, it was a long time ago, about 21 Sikh soldiers that put their lives on the line. And
There's some movies made on this as well, right?
Kesari, yeah.
Kesari, yeah.
It's an incredible movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. But yeah, so we went to some of the battle sites, the war memorial. We went to Lal Singh's village, and he was one of the VC winners. VC
Victoria Cross.
awarded, awarded a VC, not winner. Which is the Victoria Cross, which is the highest military award you can get. So he was honoured with that.
Right.
And it's incredible how much pride the people of Punjab actually have that relate to the military. So even
Now,
even veterans come and they've got all of their badges on their, proudly on their lapel, just talking to you about all of their different experiences, where they've been, how long they served, which units they've served for. So it was such an enriching experience. I have so many memories and thoughts and like feelings about the whole of India.
Yeah.
I actually went to, so I stayed there for a bit longer and went to do my own thing, which is Varanasi and Rishikesh. So I had fun doing that as well. But
Amazing.
it was a trip of a lifetime, I would say.
Great. Good to hear that. So when you go to India, each part has their own significance and you feel like you're in different countries, isn't it? Every year I try to cover different states
Yes.
during my visit, and I have a different feeling. It looks like a different continent altogether.
Yeah.
You know? The food, the culture,
Yeah,
but still
absolutely.
assimilated as one identity, Indian, which is amazing,
Yeah.
From Kanyakumari down to Kashmir, there's just one culture,
Yeah.
and from Gujarat till Assam, people are same, but the slight distinction between one place to another,
Yeah.
which makes India as a unique place, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. You've got all the mountains. So
Yeah.
it depends on what you want to do. You can go to
Exactly.
the beaches, you can go down up to the mountains. I always think that India feels like a continent. It doesn't feel like one country.
Sure.
And I completely agree. Everywhere's got their own food, their own language. And it's funny because you can speak one language in one place and it has no meaning in another place.
I know.
Yeah, so it's a great place.
So talking about Saragi and others, so millions of Indian soldiers participated during World War One and World War Two, and hundreds of thousands have lost their life. But not many people, especially kids born and brought up here, know about the contribution of Indian soldier during World War. Do you think there's enough been done or have been taught to the British history to the kids, the Gen Z? They don't know about the contribution because, they were sent to the war front, not trained enough, and they lost their life. So they massively contributed to and shown their loyalty to British Army, but not enough has been done. I know there's a Chhatri Memorial which has been brought up, and I worked with Ashok and others. We have a K2 memorial in Kingwezi in Highlands, which dedicated to Indian soldiers who died in World War II. But do you think we have done enough as a British society to honor the Indian soldier who laid down their life during World War One and World War Two?
I think we could do more,
Right.
100%. And when you actually look at the stats, it's staggering how many people actually volunteered. So it's 3.8 million across First and Second World War, but that's not including the people that died in the famine. So the actual estimates are far higher than that. And not many people know that. And even people of Indian heritage don't know that as well. Yeah. And sometimes when people say to me, "Oh, why are you in the military? Like, what's it got to do with you?" And like, actually, in our heritage, there's a huge military background, and not many people know that there were 2 units of a women auxiliary unit in India. So not just lots of a huge military population, but also female military population as well. Mm-hmm. And it's only just being uncovered. There's a doctor called Dr. Kiran Sahota, and her work is phenomenal in terms of what's actually being uncovered in terms of the female contribution and the Indian contribution as well. So the one thing that we did take away from the India trip was it would be nice to embrace some of the remembrance kind of rituals that they do in India. So they wear the marigold.
Marigold, yeah.
Yeah, and we would like to try to do that from this year onwards. Right. We're going to figure out how to do that, but I think it's important. And it's not just India as well. It's all of the Commonwealth countries. Exactly. There's a huge, massive contribution throughout the world, and I think it's important that we do remember them.
Yeah, I think during the Remembrance Day, I made a video where I said behind every poppy there's a marigold. Yeah. And a lot of parliamentarians, a lot of MPs this year, around 30, I think, wore poppy, the marigold along with the poppy, which was really nice.
Yeah.
So really. It shows that people are learning about the contribution of Indian soldier, but more. We need to do more, as you said, dear, isn't it? Absolutely. So, coming back to your career in army, we Indian origin or Indians usually choose a safe career, engineer, doctor, chartered accountant, and things like that. Yeah. So, what you told me, but what would you like to say to some 18, 19-year-old girl of Indian origin? There's some misconceptions and myth about joining army. As you mentioned, there's a lot of fun, a lot of travel, and good teamwork. So what would you like to say to someone 19, 20-year-old confused about their career, afraid to take a risk? Yeah. Would you recommend them joining army, and what are the reasons they should join army?
What I would say to that is I wouldn't recommend it to every single person, but I wouldn't rule it out. Just if you want to, I think everyone should just keep that door open until they know it's not for them. So if you're into fitness, if you're quite outdoorsy, if you like to be in austere environments and just see how you thrive, I think the army is perfect for you. I don't think, so even going down the path of what you said in terms of, doctor, lawyer, accountant, even with that, you can still become a professionally qualified officer, which is exactly what I did. Right. I went to Sandhurst and did the training. So just look at your options, keep them wide open, talk to the careers centre, any Army careers centre, usually they're really good, or go onto the Army website. And depending on your age, you can look at some of the bursaries that are available. And just keep your options open until you can't anymore. I think that's the better way to kind of see these things. If I hadn't have done that, then I definitely wouldn't have had half as much interesting stories to tell people and half as many experiences that I've had today. And, the confidence that it's had inside me, just being here through this, isn't it? So it's just opened doors that I never thought would have opened. I've met Miss England, I've met really interesting people. I get very good teaching in the military as well. So it's a really good career. It's not for everyone, fully understand that, but just keep it open.
So you mentioned about bursaries and things like that. Not many people know about it. Can you break it down? How does someone doing an accountancy, studying medicine, or being a lawyer can join and contribute to army? So can you break it down for our audience, because not everyone understands what bursaries are and how?
So bursaries are if the military or any kind of employer is looking for a certain job
set,
type,
yeah.
or skill set, then they will make things a little bit easier for them in terms of they'll give them a bursary in order to, complete a certain number of years with the military. So with the medical bursary, which I think it is still going on, but it's extremely competitive to get into, then you have to have an interview and, do all of the AOSB, which is the Army Officer Selection Board, in order to get through to the bursary stage. And then they get, you get a grant for the next 3 years of your training. And then when you go to Sandhurst, you get another lump sum. So
what's Sandhurst? Can you explain that as well?
Oh, sorry. Sandhurst is the officer training.
Yeah.
It's the officer training establishment. So you go, it's in Surrey and or Camberley, and you go there for a certain number of a certain number of weeks or months in order to complete your training and become an officer. So everyone has to do it. If you're going to become an officer, if you become a soldier, you go somewhere else.
Right.
But yeah, so Sandhurst is like the base of everyone. Yeah, that's where.
Someone like me who is 40-year-old, they can also join as a reservist and what most of the questions I get from people is that you need to be really, really fit because to get into army. So for example, if someone like me who is 40-year-old, 40 plus, so can they still be in army, and what level of fitness is required?
Yeah. So the level of fitness and what's required does change quite a lot. But so, for example, when I was joining, it was the bleep test. So you have to be able to run really fast between two cones that are 20 meters apart and get over 8.6. I think they've dropped it down to around about 6 now.
Is it for all age category, or is it?
No, it varies depending on your age and which sex you are as well, or used to. I think they've changed it again. Sorry, I'm not really up to date with everything, but it's roughly a certain number of press-ups and a certain number of push-ups. Sorry, that's the same thing. Press-ups and a certain number of
sit-ups.
Sit-ups, that's the one.
Yeah.
Sit-ups and what else is there? And then that's just the physical component, to be honest. And the rest of it is whether you can debate in in topics that are worldly affairs. Whether you can give a lecture to the rest of your cohort. Whether under a pressured interview, how you do. Whether you lose your cool. And there's something called a Plan X, which is really difficult. But the point of it isn't actually to solve the problem; it's to come up with the best solution in a certain time. And it's hard. If you ask anyone in the military, they really put you under pressure. But that's part of it. When you're up in front of everyone, how well you can describe what your course of action would be. So just practicing all of the elements, then I think anyone can pass it. Obviously, it's really important to make sure you know exactly what you're aiming for, but don't go in blind. Like, do it over and over again. So for me, I started about a year in advance to when I wanted to actually pass the test, because I knew my fitness wasn't up to scratch. But now it's sort of such a good level that I know I can just top it up here and there. But just doing the bleep test every day was hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely. So. Right now, the world situation is not very favorable. So, army is recruiting, I assume, right now.
Yes. Yeah.
So
always.
It's open for everyone to join army if they feel like it's for them. Whether you're a doctor, engineer, or whatever you are, but there's place for everyone, isn't it? So, coming back to your medicine profession, GP profession, So, how much do you think a GP can diagnose just looking? Because when you go to GP, they look at your tongue, your eyes, face. So without using any machine, how much can a GP can know about your health condition?
I think there's a lot. There's a lot, yeah. And even like you're taught that even when you get a patient from the waiting room and you walk with them to your room, you can diagnose a lot of things in that time as well.
I knew that.
Yeah. So you're always being watched. Essentially, you can tell so much. So whether they're limping, whether there's anything wrong with the eyes and the tongue and stuff. As a GP, I really, rely on those skills. And that's why I think I absolutely love it. And that's why I think, being in an austere environment goes really well with being a GP, because you don't have much around before you have to make that decision as to what the next step would be. So yeah, we can tell a huge amount. But a lot of it is a gut feeling,
Right.
you knowing that patient, you can see that they're not quite at their baseline, what's going on. And lots of different other things. I think it's difficult to go through it without going medically through everything. But there's a huge amount. And, at medical school, you are taught that, like, make sure you go from the fingertips all the way up to the eyes, and then going down to the stomach, and then doing your actual examination that you need to do. So everything, it gives you a huge amount of information.
I mean, I was born in India, and the medical system is quite different here. So I think it was
absolutely.
a shock for me when I first, because in India you can just get doctor on demand, and they just write you lots of medicines. Even if I have a normal cough, they will cough or flu, they'll just write antibiotics. But here it's very hard to get an antibiotics. You have to survive on paracetamol for a few weeks. So in a way, I think this is good for immunity, what we do over here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just because your body, you know way better than me, but I've seen people who have come recently, they bring antibiotics from India because they're so used to that. So does that impact their health, having too many antibiotics?
Definitely. It adds to antibiotic resistance.
Right.
So in the future, they might be resistant to something, and just keeping, in an area, if you start to increase the antibiotics in the area, then automatically that the bug will create, find another route to infect someone. So resistance does increase. So you're I always think you're shooting yourself in the foot. If you do that later on, you might be not able to use that same medication. The other thing is that you get a lot of side effects with antibiotics as well. And, I think the problem is that we think that everything can be fixable these days. Like, one drop of a hat and then you're sorted. But actually it is normal to be a bit unwell, and it's not bad to have a bit of a temperature. It's your own body's way of fighting the bug that's been infecting you. So it obviously, to an extent, like, it's up until, you start to get septic or anything else, like you start to really have a severe reaction to something. So overall, I think it isn't great to rely on medications, and riding things out, being healthy, increasing your vitamin C, those sort of things are the slightly lower priority things, but they make such a big difference in
100%.
Yeah.
And you've been specializing now in ENT, I assume, yeah?
Yes.
So
ENT.
what are some of the ENT symptoms which normally people ignore and they should not ignore? Tell us more about those ENT symptoms.
I think this goes across the board. Any kind of hearing loss that's sudden, and especially if it's unilateral, so one-sided, should be looked at. And it's a very time-sensitive situation. So you should go to your GP or walk-in centre and say that I've got a hearing loss that's been sudden. That's quite an important one. The other things, so sleep apnea is quite common, I think, in certain, the Asian community. Diabetes and high blood pressure. So it's important to keep those things under control. Try not to have too many mithai at Diwali. It's very, very tempting. But those kind of things, just make sure you exercise a lot. It's important, and you need to keep on top of it. And no one is like exempt from that. So
you talked about sleep apnea. I know a few of my friend has sleep apnea, and my assumption was somebody who's overweight, and they have sleep apnea. But I know somebody who he died in sleep because of sleep apnea, and he didn't knew that they had a sleep apnea.
Wow.
So what causes sleep apnea? Is it some structural changes in your body?
Yeah.
Tell us more about sleep apnea, because that's a very. I mean, I'm quite interested to learn more about
Yeah.
sleep apnea. Yeah.
So sleep apnea, essentially, it is when you stop breathing when you're asleep. So normally what we say to partners is if you can record them and see if there's a point when they stop snoring for a
Right.
bit, and then we can actually see what's going on. So snoring itself isn't such a bad thing, but it does unless it obstructs the airway, and that's
Right.
the problem. So you can have someone, even anatomically, where they've got a shorter, kind of slightly fatter neck. It's essentially, or their anatomy just makes them like have a smaller airway that it gets obstructed easily.
During sleep.
Yeah, during sleep.
Right. And the oxygen level depletes.
Yeah, oxygen level reduces, and then that's why people feel really groggy when they wake up. But in extreme cases, it can obstruct completely and then cause death.
Right.
But that is quite uncommon these days.
A lot of people are not aware that they have sleep apnea.
Yeah.
So, what are the things they should keep in mind? Their partner, once you said they should record if they are snoring aloud and they stop breathing during sleep.
Yes.
And is there any test they can do to find out?
There's not a test, but there's a. It's called the Epworth Sleep Scale.
Right.
So there's a questionnaire they can do.
Okay.
But there is like small, really important signs. So if they wake up really groggy, as if they haven't slept, if they keep falling asleep throughout the day, if they just sit and they fall asleep, even if they've had enough food, they think they've had enough rest the night before, that's important to know that they might actually be deficient in
Right.
oxygen whilst they're sleeping at night. So that's why they feel so groggy and tired. Those kind of things are important, and it does go in families as well. So if you know that you've got someone in your family that's had it, then anatomically you're probably more likely to have it as well.
Good. And so, what are the 5 important things, especially the Indian diaspora you've seen, in health wise, they should be aware and they should keep in mind? You said mithai. We all love mithai.
Yes.
So, and India has become a diabetic capital. So most of Indians are at risk of diabetes. So, what are the 5 health things you would recommend for Indian diaspora here?
Okay. Exercising should be, like most things, can be reversed or improved with exercising. So that's including like high blood pressure, and then by default, strokes and heart attacks. So I would say exercising about 4 to 5 times a week is really important. If you can't do that, then 3 times a week, over 30 minutes at least. And you have to be out of breath. So just walking.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Or climbing steps.
Yeah, but I would say slightly more than that. So a little like a gentle jog, where you're actually going to get very sweaty and you can't speak to the person next to you. That's quite important to get to that level of fitness. So that's one. I'd say, avoiding mithai and all the sweets and all that gaja hoa, everything good. So those are a couple of really important things. Then generally, like, don't smoke. It's very kind of tempting. Even things like shisha is quite bad for you. So, avoiding all kinds of smoking and vaping. Vaping's like really quite severe.
And these days, all teenagers now,
Yeah.
I see them vaping. So, which is
Exactly. Betel nuts. So when you have bun, just make sure that you don't have that in it. And if you chew it, so essentially there can be a cancer related to it. So you have to be really careful that anything else isn't in the bun.
Right.
So it's important for people to be aware of it and just understand that your gum health is really important as well. I think I've got to 4 now. My last one would be meditate more. And just keep, anxiety levels low. Like, we live in such a fast-paced world.
Exactly.
Everybody does. So just keeping away from social media, just grounding yourself, keeping like we have it in our culture, like just go back to your roots and like go for yoga and meditation, because it's really important just to live in the present instead of just watching life go by. Yeah.
So, is there any meditation technique you use, or somebody want to start meditation? Would you like to say something about how someone start meditating? Is there an easy way?
Yeah, really easy way. And actually, the Navy SEALs do this.
Right.
So what you can do is just count in for eight counts, and breathe in, hold for 8, and then breathe out, and then hold for 8.
So the box breathing.
Yeah, the box breathing.
Yeah.
That's a really easy, just focusing on your breath sort of exercise, just to kind of calibrate yourself. The other one, recently I went to Rishikesh and we went to a yoga retreat, and just the breathing through one nostril, holding, breathing through another nostril, holding. Yes, exactly. That's really good. And then breathing normally after that. So doing that for like 9 breaths, just to, again, recalibrate yourself. The one that I really liked is humming, but keeping your ears kind of shut, closed, and your eyes closed, and then humming. And then that really centers and relaxes you completely. So those kind of small techniques, just having them up your sleeve is really, really good. The other thing I would say is, and I think this is probably one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given, is knowing when you're going downhill, and knowing who to call and to keep you accountable. So for example, for me, I know it's when I don't ring my parents much. I know that I'm starting to feel unwell in myself, or not feeling like as great as I should be. Starting to reach for chocolate, not exercising it as much, and not doing my face wash routine. That's when I know that I'm starting to get stressed, and I need to correct all of those things. And then I know that I'll get better, or just feel better soon. So those sort of things, just having measurable things at your fingertips and knowing when you start to omit them, then that's
amazing.
Yeah.
You said about the physical health and mental health, emotional health, both are equally important.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And there's one thing I wanted to tell. I don't know if you know about Yog Nidra, which has massively helped me.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I take a stress a lot. So whenever I have a big event to deliver, because I host a lot of events as well.
Yeah.
And I go on sleep, and my wife laughs at me. You have important interview coming up, or important event coming up. You're going on sleep. This 40 hours of guided meditative sleep.
Yeah.
Especially from one of the lady guru, Anandamurti's. It's available on YouTube, like millions of views. I'll tune into that, and after that, my mind calms down so much. I have so much clarity of thought. I can do anything. As I feel like I can solve any problem.
Amazing.
So do try that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to try it.
Share the video with you.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Hina, for your time and interesting conversation. I know it was done on a very short notice. Probably we'll do a longer podcast next time. But before we close, I've got some rapid fire for you.
Okay.
Are you ready for that?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Just 5 seconds to think about it, and I'm gonna answer it, okay? So, what's harder, explaining Indian spices to your British colleagues, or explaining British weathers to your Indian friends?
Indian spices for sure.
3 things a Gujarati girl's survival kit you carry even on deployment.
Oh, that's hard. Black eyeliner, just in case. I always have my with me, my necklace. So that's nice from my parents. I don't think I have a third one, but I'd just say something that my parents have given me, or my sister's given me, some kind of piece of jewelry that I'll just keep and hold them. Yeah, and just remember home. That's very nice. I think.
So if your life had a Bollywood soundtrack, so which song, Bollywood song, should be played when you enter your clinic or your office? Which song be played?
One that just keeps coming to my mind is Kala Chasma.
I love that song.
But like, I love the upbeat and just for fun and just being passionate about everything, that kind of vibe.
So, Cyprus, Falkland, and Kenya. Which posting gave you the best story you can't tell publicly?
Oh, Kenya.
Kenya, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
We can discuss this offline.
Yeah. I'll let you know.
Okay. Last one. One stereotype about doctors or army you want to delete.
Oh, okay. They're all old men with lots of experience. I've got nothing against old men. Let me just put that out there. But it's a modern army and everyone is welcome. Is what I want to say.
Thank you so much, Hina.
Thank you so much, Puneet. It's a pleasure.